Yeah, those were great days. And the superintendent acknowledged, ex-superintendent that I talked to on the plane said that Jerry Cameron was one of a few men that carried a reputation all over the state.
Of excellence.
Yeah, of being a tough guy.
What memories do you have with Grandpa and Grandma being here on the field watching you?
You know, Dad was working his head off out there on that 300 acres. I don't remember Dad ever seeing any of my games,
Wow.
but he always gave me. I had access to the gas pump. We stored gas on the farm for the tractors, and he gave me at least a pickup. Sometimes I drove a cattle truck in here, but I always had transportation later when I got licensed to drive.
He always wanted to make sure you could get here.
Yeah. Jerry, one time, Vale had a boxing team that had quite a reputation. And he came over. We had during the lunch hour, they had a kind of a tryout for everybody that was interested in getting on the boxing team. And so I put the gloves on, and they matched me up with one of our main players on the football team, who is now an eye doctor in Boise. But I represented myself pretty good, and even though he was bigger than I was. And Jerry came to me later and asked me if I'd join the team. I mean, he came to me, and I said, well, I talked to my dad about it, and Dad said, Leonard, you can play any of the other sports, but I don't want you to box. So, so I honored that, and Jerry tried real hard. I don't think Jerry knew for sure. I think he thought I was not. I didn't want to, but I wanted to honor what my dad. Even though Dad boxed himself, he didn't want me to. Out of concern for my safety.
So, Grandpa, to all these short guys who are in sports now, and you're in front of a field that you learned a lot of lessons, what would you say to these young athletes to learn about sports and what it meant to you to have great memories on this field?
Well, I went from this field, and later on I went to some couple colleges, and I found that I was pretty much a little frog in a big pond. And when I I played some college, I found out there are a lot of good athletes in this country. And I also played sports in the service. I got exposed to several professional athletes there. And I realized real quick that I was among a lot of good athletes, and I certainly didn't always stand out.
But here you had that senior year. Was that pretty fun to play on this field, and
Oh
you
yeah.
look forward to in class. It's 2 o'clock, and was you
Oh
part in some
man.
of those games?
Yeah, my heart and soul was out here. It wasn't in the classroom. And I kind of regret that I didn't give more attention to my academics.
But you love being on that field.
Oh, I'll say I was going through a little bit of a slump one time, and I was over there, and one of my teammates' father was there. Ray Bourne's dad, and he'd drive from Hope in here just to watch us practice, and he'd come in almost every day. And I was kind of down, and I told him I got to get my batting average up, and I was hitting, okay. I could field with anybody, but I was a little weak in my batting. But I somehow I always usually was able to get on base. I'd walk, I'd bunt, and he looked at me and he said, "Leonard, I'll tell you one thing. You look the part of a good baseball player in your uniform." So he was out to give me some encouragement.
You wore the suit well.
Yeah.
So was this also the football field?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you played football,
Yeah.
baseball?
This soccer goal is about where the goal posts were. That's about 100 yards down to those trees. And they had bleachers. They'd move the bleachers over here when they put the stripes down, and a football field just fits in there.
So what position in football did you play on this field?
Well, I played my junior years. I played halfback. We played single wing football, which is an old formation that Newt Rockne introduced at Notre Dame, and most of the schools used that formation, and it was a power running set of formations that you would line your quarterback as the left halfback. And although we did use some T formation plays, you would shift from the quarterback, as this quarterback stands under the center to take the ball. I would shift as a quarterback back to the left halfback position. That way it gave you an extra blocker to run to the right. And man, I'll tell you, those two guys that did that first block, I've seen them knock a guy 2 feet in the air, or and they just go rolling. It looked a little unfair, but it was, and I'm sure that 45-0 that was played yesterday had some of those real basic power plays that were introduced in our day.
So you were the starting tailback in '52 when they won the regional championship.
No, I didn't actually take the quarterback position until I was a senior the next year.
So that junior year, you were the running back.
Yes.
So you were the starting running back on that championship team.
I didn't always start there, but I was used as a receiver.
Gotcha.
I could also catch the ball pretty well. And Jerry put that trust in me as a younger player to not drop the ball.
So Jerry was the football coach and the baseball coach?
Yes,
Wow.
yes,
He wore a lot of hats at this school.
yes, he did, and later became the principal.
Wow.
And this Ray Barnes that I mentioned was a player then, became the principal, a coach at the high school and the principal as well, and is now retired.
And he played with you.
Yeah, and he has a farm up there on the bench, and he lives right there. We drove by. I'd like to stop and see him. I'm sure he's an old fat guy like I am now.
All right, well, thanks for sharing this, Grandpa, with these memories and experiences on this field. It's wonderful. You see that V up on that hillside?
Yeah.
It's been there a lot of years?
Oh, yes. That's an old landmark for the school. They take a lot of the kids up there, and sometimes they one of the initiations for the freshmen was to go paint the V. And I'll tell you, it's quite a track up there.
Did you have to go paint it?
Yeah.